Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for this opportunity to talk about the Alcanivorax paradox. This sums up a project of 3 years called Kielspiel that I did in Ghent at Cement. So, what is the Alcanivorax paradox? Well, this is a study about the impact of pressure on oil degradation. As you know, in the North Sea, there are several oil reservoirs all over the sea, and even though the average depth is just 100 meters in the North Sea, you have some spots where oil reservoirs would be at, like this here, about half a kilometer deep. Now, why would that be a problem? We all know that oil floats on water, so why would be this an issue? Well, actually, there are several ways for the oil to reach deep sea, and these would be both natural oil weathering or a result of human intervention after a spill. For instance, tide ball formations, marine snow, and oil plume formation after leaking from a well at deep sea. This would be natural process, let's say. But then, of course, also application of dispersants would increase the fraction of oil that remains in the water, and also, most notably, burn residues when the oil is burned and you select for a fraction that is heavier and then precipitates. So normally, oil is degraded by bacteria. There's a whole pathways, and there's nothing strange about that. It's kind of known. And the community that starts for first degrading oil is generally known as hydrocarbonoclastic bacteria. That will be the green box in here. They would attack primarily the oil and sometimes even produce surfactants. And there's a lot of study that's been done in the last decades about how to increase the response rate to hydrocarbons. And this would be related to the nature of the hydrocarbon, the electron acceptors available at site, temperature, and even organic carbon, like in the case that you have marine snow formation. But the problem with this is that all of these studies were conducted at surface water conditions. That is, where you have surface pressure, ambient pressure. And this would be normally 0.1 megapascal. Now, as you may know, pressure increases as you go deep, and this is more or less 100, every 100 meters you have 1 megapascal more. So if you are half a kilometer deep, 500 meters, you have 5 megapascal. At 1 kilometer, you have 10 megapascal. What did we do? Well, we selected for the most known hydrocarbonoclastic genus, that is Alcanivorax. This genus has been found in 1998 and ever since found in any spill in the world, as you can see here. And sometimes even not even in the sea, but even in soils. So it's the most known oil degrader that we know. And just to have an idea, within the first 30 days, a community of bacteria that bloom to degrade oil can be constituted up to 90% just of Alcanivorax. So this is the toughest strain we know to degrade oil. So what we did is that we tested several independent strains to oil degradation, and we applied pressure. Now here we're just going to talk about one strain that is the most representative. So if Alcanivorax is the model hydrocarbonoclastic bacteria, then Borkumensis SK2 would be the reference strain. So a reference over reference. And what we saw, we applied here 3 different pressures. So ambient pressure, 5 and 10 megapascal. And you can see that if you check the net increase in optical density, it decreases incredibly by just 5 megapascal. So this would be a depth of 500 meters, not really much. And more or less is the same if you consider the net growth, so if you count cells. And in this case, you have even negative values. It means that at the end of the incubation, we found less cells than at the beginning. But curiously enough, if you double the pressure, we saw a little bit of resistance that you cannot really see with optical density, but we found statistically significant with cells. And this will be backed up by the number of intact cells that you can do through flow cytometry again. And just to have an idea, at 5 megapascal, you would have 10% of cells that are intact, so 90% are damaged. And then again, as you increase the pressure, there's a little bit of resistance. The resistance, nevertheless, is not enormous, but it just says there is some mechanism that is triggered. And we found why, eventually. We found that cells can accumulate actinium as you increase pressure. Now, actin was known as an osmolyte before us, that is a compound that is accumulated as a result of osmotic pressure, so cells. But we could define this as piezolyte, that is also accumulated by increase of pressure. And this gives a little bit of resistance to the cells that can then survive. Then one would think, well, that's proof that this Alcanivorax somehow can resist pressure. But truth is that ectoin is highly energy intensive. So at the end of the day, this genus is trying to survive, spending a lot of energies, and then the number of cells not even compatible with what you have at ambient pressure. So we even checked what is the impact on oil degradation with a very general proxy that would be pH value. And you can see, like the white squares, there are sterile controls, and you can check by yourself that as you increase pressure, there's simply no difference with a sterile control. And even if you check CO2 production per cell, it critically goes down. So you have less cells and also less degradation of the oil. So the oil would persist in the environment. Now, if we check the transcriptomic data that we run on these conditions, we found that the activation of the hydrocarbon, in this case we used as a model hydrocarbonoclatic, all the genes related to the activations were active and upregulated with pressure. So normally the activation would bring about formation of dodecanoic acids or fatty acid, and fatty acids enter beta oxidation for the full degradation of the oil. So we found that activation was working very well at high pressure. But right after, all the genes for beta oxidation were downregulated. So the pathway for assimilation was going completely another way. And by digging a little bit more, we found this kind of scheme that is kind of complex, but more or less all biosynthetic pathways were upregulated. So somehow the strain was able to make use of the oil, but in a completely different way. So the thing is that after all these years studying the Alcanivorax, we found that probably we were just not able to grow the strain. You know, these things happen in a lab. Maybe all the hypothesis was wrong, because if you go and check the deep sea, you have wonderful natural formations of asphalt volcanoes, hot vents, cold sea, where hydrocarbons would naturally spill at deep sea conditions. And you know that you have microbes there able to degrade and assimilate the oil. It doesn't persist in the environment. But then, after all this data production, we went and studied the deepwater horizon spill, which is an event you may remind is in 2010, a huge spill of oil that occurred at deep sea. And what is interesting is that the Gulf of Mexico is populated by several natural seeps. So it's been speculated that all the sediments and bacteria there are already primed for hydrocarbon degradation, and that an oil spill there wouldn't be such a problem. But truth is that in all the studies, and you have a couple of like 70 to 100 papers, none of these could find any hydrocarbonoclastic bacterium blooming, neither in sediment or in the oil plume or in the water column. So actually, the strange behavior of the most predominant strain didn't apply just to Alcanivorax, but very likely to all the other hydrocarbonoclastic bacteria that I mentioned here. So to conclude, why would this be so important? Well, I mentioned that already mild levels of hydrostatic pressure can impact the biodegradation of oil and change the whole pathways and players for oil degradation at deep sea. But the problem is that bioremediation is the only way we have today to remediate the oil once it drops down to deep sea. So if we don't understand how the spark can degrade the oil, we cannot design a protocol to clean up the environment after a spill. Thank you for your attention.